The third session of the annual April town meeting of the town of North Reading was called to order at 8 p.m. on the 13th day of April, 1992. Tonight's tellers will be Jerry Piero, who will be taking the section to my left, your right, and the tables up front with the various committees and commissions of the town, including the Community Planning Commission, the Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, and the School Committee, and the town clerk. And Mr. Quayle, Mr. Phil Quayle, will be counting the section in the center, and Mr. George Reitmeyer will be counting the section on your left, my right. And again, as in the past, people who are not registered voters of the town, if they are employees of the town, they are allowed to be seated with their boards and committees either at the front tables or in the front row of the center section. And if they are not employees of the town, they are requested to be seated in the front 3 rows of the section on your left, my right. Everybody who is a registered voter of the town and therefore admitted to this meeting at this time should be wearing a nice colored badge, and it doesn't matter what color it is as long as it's purple. And if you don't have a purple badge on you, you should go and check in and get yourself a purple badge at this time. I understand that the Board of Selectmen is entertaining various business in, I guess it used to be the library. What is it now, Betty? The conference room on the other side of the courtyard, transacting some important business. And while we can call the meeting to order without the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator, it is a little difficult for us to transact much business. Yes, please. Mrs. Voller, on a motion to admit to the meeting.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the following persons be admitted to the meeting. Robert Turage, North Reading Transcript, requests freedom of the floor. Richard Purcelli, Heritage Cable, requests freedom of the floor. George E. Dow Sr., Finance Director. Roger Young, Business Manager, Schools. John Giorgio, Town Council. Frank O'Donoghue, Superintendent of Schools. David P. Hanlon, Director of Public Works. Representative Robert C. Krikorian, Reading, Mass. Rosalind Spielman, Library Director. Robert Rogers, CPC Administrator.
You have heard the motion to admit. Is there any discussion? On the motion to admit, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. The people who were admitted to the meeting by this vote will, if they are employees of the town, be seated either with their boards at the front tables or in the front row with members of their committees. And if they are not, they will be seated in the front 3 rows of the section to your left. The Finance Committee is now going to present a status report of where we are at the conclusion of line item 8 of Article 10. Mr. Mocheri.
As we said at the beginning of this meeting, balancing the town budget based on the Finance Committee recommendations meant that we would utilize almost all of our free cash and a good portion of the stabilization fund. And that was short of before Article 9, where we transferred from the Hillview surplus account $250,000 into the account. So the current balances are up on the screen, and that is that we began with free cash of $287,707, and we have used on line item 5 $100,000 of it. Before this night is over, if we follow the recommendations of the Finance Committee, we will have $707 left in free cash. With respect to the stabilization fund, we started with $472,765. We added $250,000 at our last meeting, and we've transferred out of it $10,000 on line 14, giving us a current balance of $712,765. There are a number of articles this evening transferring funds from stabilization for the purposes of balancing the town budget.
Are there any questions concerning the Finance Committee's status report? Well, given the fact that the Board of Selectmen is still not among us, the Chair will declare a recess until such time as the Board of Selectmen are on the premises to help us proceed with the meeting. The Chair has just been advised that Mr. Robert Mocheri, who has been a linchpin of the Finance Committee for quite a few years now, both before and after he served on the school committee, has just been appointed by the Board of Selectmen to the Hillview Commission. He will serve out his term on the Finance Committee, but this makes him ineligible for reappointment and therefore creates another vacancy on the Finance Committee that will need to be filled at the conclusion of this meeting. We are now ready to proceed with the meeting. Mr. Canny? Mr. Canny, are you ready to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? Mr. Canny. Did I say line item 9? I was in error. We are now ready to proceed with line item 8 of Article 10, the omnibus article of town meeting. Do we have a motion on the line item number 8, salaries? Do we have a motion on the line item 8?
TA, sir.
Oh, I was here a moment ago. We're waiting for the town administrator. We have one more motion to admit, Mrs. Willow.
Mr. Moderator, move to admit Sean Morey, custodian of North Reading High School, and for freedom of the floor. Mr. Morey is a resident of Salem, Mass.
You've heard the motion to admit. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Line item 8. Mr. Daly.
Mr. Moderator, I move to appropriate the sum of $13,000 for line number 8 as printed in the as printed in the FinCom recommends column with any noted transfers as printed in the warrant.
You have heard the motion which corresponds to the Finance Committee recommendation on line item number 8. Does the Finance Committee have a recommendation, Mrs. Belmonte?
Finance Committee recommends.
Is there any further discussion? Gentleman to my right, please state your name and use the microphone if you would.
Hi, Christopher Train, 112 North Street. With this new position, who is currently doing the work of the secretary? I've got a couple of questions.
Mr. Daly.
Sir, this is not actually a new position. What it is an assignment of this position under a different category of the budget. We presently have 1.5 secretarial support in my office. This person would still work out of the town administrator's office, and the existing full-time position would remain. This would be the part-time position.
Okay, so which means you'll be losing a part-timer and the selectmen will be picking it up?
On paper.
On paper.
Just on paper, yes. It's a dedication of that person's effort to the Board of Selectmen as opposed to a transfer of the person to that board.
So this won't be costing the town any more money?
Not a nickel more.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. On the motion before us for $13,000 for line item number 8. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Line item 9.
Mr. Moderator, I move to appropriate the sum of $104,000 for line number 9 as printed in the sponsor recommends column with any noted transfers as printed in the warrant.
You've heard the motion. Does the Finance Committee have a recommendation? Mrs. Vaca.
Mr. Moderator, I move to amend line 9, Town Administrator salaries, to $90,600, with $82,600 to be raised and appropriated, and to transfer $8,000 from one.
You've heard the motion and the Finance Committee recommendation, which is a motion to amend. On the main motion, Mr. Daly.
Mr. Moderator, town meeting members, the difference between the Finance Committee and the Selectmen on this particular line is comprised of one part-time position that would be added to the staff. That position would be one that I've entitled Human Resources Coordinator. Right now, the general government of the town has 100 employees, 100 full-time equivalents. We actually have about 125 people on our payroll. We have another 150 retirees on the general government side. There are 370 or so school employees and another another 30 or 40 retirees under the school department that all receive services as employees from our present operation. Those services now are rendered out of the finance department, and the services that I'm referring to are specifically health insurance, life insurance, retirement benefit administration, things of that sort, where the employees have needs for contact and communication, understanding, clarification, sign-up, alteration of their insurance coverages. That is all being done out of the finance division at this point. There's a package of there's a package that we're trying to implement in this particular budget that the town meeting voted the initial stage in favor of last Thursday night, which was an additional $10,000 in services that would be applied to the accounting area to provide necessary assistance there. This is the other piece of that